The thunderclap rattled the camper like a gunshot, shaking loose the ghosts we'd been outrunning for weeks. Jordan's hand shot out in the dark, gripping my wrist so hard it bruised, his breath hot and ragged against my neck as the storm howled outside. "Austin, don't you dare pull away. Not now, not after everything." I froze, heart slamming against my ribs, the air thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and the faint, forbidden tang of his cologne that I'd pretended not to notice for years. In that split second, with lightning carving his face into sharp, desperate angles, I knew we'd shattered the invisible wall between us, the one we'd built brick by brick since we were kids trading comic books in that dusty Indiana trailer park. His lips crashed into mine like a wave breaking on jagged rocks, and God help me, I kissed him back, tasting salt and regret and the wild freedom we'd stolen on this endless American highway. We'd been best friends since the summer of '08, when the world was all scraped knees and stolen sips of our dad's Bud Lights under the rusted swing set in Jordan's backyard. I was the scrawny kid with the chip on his shoulder. Austin Hale, the boy whose mom worked double shifts at the diner just to keep the lights on in our single wide. Jordan was the golden boy next door, with his easy grin and freckles that danced like stars across his nose. The kind of kid who could charm a teacher out of detention with a wink. Our friendship was the one constant in lives that spun like tires in gravel. His old man bailing after one too many bar fights. My mom crumbling under the weight of pills and promises she couldn't keep. High school blurred into a haze of Friday night lights and keg parties in cornfields, where we'd huddle in the bed of his beat-up Ford, passing a joint and laughing about girls we'd never quite figured out. But there were moments, quiet ones, the kind that sneak up on you like fog off Lake Michigan, when his knee would brush mine, or he'd sling an arm around my shoulders a beat too long, and I'd feel this pull, deep in my gut, like a hook yanking me towards something I wasn't ready to name. I'd shove it down, blame it on the buzz, because in small-town Indiana, you didn't whisper about boys who looked at boys the way Jordan sometimes looked at me. Not if you wanted to graduate without a busted lip or worse. College scattered us, me to Purdue on a partial scholarship for engineering, him to IU chasing some half-baked dream of being a writer. We kept the line open with late-night calls, drunk texts, and the occasional weekend bailout to hit the bars in Bloomington. "You're my anchor, AUS," he'd slur one night, voice thick with whiskey and whatever girl he'd ghosted that week. "Don't ever change on me." I'd laugh it off, but those words lodged in my chest like shrapnel because changing was all I was doing. Wrestling with the truth in dorm room mirrors, swiping right on apps I'd delete by morning, always circling back to the safety of our platonic orbit. By 25, life had kicked us both in the teeth. I was grinding away at a cubicle in Chicago, drafting blueprints for soulless condos that dotted the skyline like concrete tombstones. Jordan bounced from one gig to the next, bartending in dive bars, scribbling poetry no one read, until his latest flame torched his heart and his savings in a spectacular implosion. "Road trip," he texted out of the blue one humid July morning, attaching a photo of a '92 Winnebago he'd scored off Craigslist for a steal. You, me, the open road. No bullshit, no deadlines. Just us, like the old days. I should have said no. The rational part of my brain, the one buried under years of denial, screamed warnings about boundaries and what-ifs. But the camper pulled up to my apartment that Friday evening, Jordan leaning out the window with that lopsided smile, aviators perched on his nose, and a cooler stocked with IPAs. "Come on, Hale. Live a little before we turn into our dads." And just like that, I tossed my duffel in the back, climbed aboard, and we peeled out toward I-80, the city lights fading in the rearview like a bad memory. The first leg was pure Americana bliss. Cornfields giving way to the endless flatlands of Iowa, where we'd crank Springsteen and belt out Born to Run until our throats ached. We'd pull off at state parks, grill burgers over open flames, and swap stories under star-pricked skies. His about the girl in Nashville who'd stolen his guitar, mine about the promotion that felt like a noose tightening. There was an ease to it, a rhythm we'd never lost, but laced now with something sharper, unspoken. The camper was a tin can on wheels, all faded plaid curtains and a bed that sagged in the middle, forcing us hip to hip when we crashed after midnight drives. I'd wake to his arm draped across my chest, breath steady against my shoulder, and lie there frozen, pulse thundering, until he stirred and mumbled an apology, rolling away with a sheepish grin. We hit the Rockies by week 2, the air turning crisp as we snaked through Colorado's hairpin turns. Telluride was our first real detour, a ghost town turned ski haven, where we hiked trails lined with aspen groves that shimmered like gold in the sun. Jordan, ever the dreamer, dragged me to an overlook with a view that stretched to forever, the San Juan Mountains clawing at the horizon. "This is it, man," he said, clapping my back a little too hard. "The American dream, wild, untamed. No one telling you who to be." His eyes lingered on mine, blue as the sky we'd parked under, and for a heartbeat, I thought he might say it, might bridge the gap. But he turned away, lighting a cigarette, and the moment dissolved like smoke. Nights blurred into a haze of campfire confessions. Over Esmore's sticky with marshmallow, he admitted the real reason for the trip. His ex, Riley, hadn't just broken his heart. She'd outed him to half of Bloomington after he confessed his confusing feelings one drunken night. I told her I wasn't sure anymore, about the labels, about everything. He stared into the flames, voice cracking. She called me a liar, said I'd been hiding it all along. Maybe she's right. My stomach twisted, a cocktail of jealousy and fear. I'd known about his flings, the girls, and the one fumbling hookup with a guy at a Pride afterparty he'd downplayed as experimentation. But hearing it laid bare, raw like an open wound, cracked something in me. I wanted to tell him then, about the journals I'd burned, the prayers I'd whispered in empty churches, but the words stuck, heavy as the Rockies around us. Instead, we pushed west, chasing the myth of reinvention. Utah's Red Rock Canyons swallowed us whole, Arches National Park a labyrinth of stone arches that framed sunsets like oil paintings. We balanced on delicate arch at twilight, the wind whipping our shirts, Jordan's laughter echoing off the cliffs as he dared me to shout my biggest regret into the void. "Loving someone I can't have," I yelled back, the words tasting like truth and ash. He went quiet after that, his hand finding mine in the scramble down, fingers interlacing just long enough to send sparks up my arm. That night, in the camper parked under a meteor shower, he cracked open the last of the whiskey and said, "You're the only one who gets it, Aus. The only one who's ever really seen me." We fell asleep tangled in the sheets, the line between comfort and craving blurring like the stars overhead. By Nevada, the desert heat was a living thing, pressing down on us like Judgment Day. Vegas was a neon fever dream we skipped, too garish, too fake for what we were running from. Instead, we veered north toward the loneliest road in America, Highway 50, where ghost towns dotted the sagebrush like forgotten prayers. The camper wheezed up inclines, AC sputtering, forcing us to strip down to tanks and shorts, skin slick with sweat. Jokes turned flirtatious, touches lingered. A playful shove turning into a wrestle on the fold-out table. His body pinning mine, breath mingling hot and close. "Your trouble, Hale," he'd murmur, eyes dark with something I mirrored back. It was outside Ely, in a pull-off overlooking the Humboldt Valley, that the storm hit. We'd been driving too long, tempers frayed from a flat tire and a near miss with a semi. Jordan snapped at me over the radio station. "Play something that doesn't suck, AUS." And I fired back, accusing him of dragging me into this mess to avoid his own. The fight escalated in the cab, words like knives. His resentment at my perfect life, my fear he was using me as a crutch. We pulled over in a fury, rain lashing the windshield as thunder rolled in from the Sierras. He stormed out first, then back, soaked and shivering, slamming the door. "Why do you always do this? Act like nothing touches you." I stood there, chest heaving, the space between us electric. "Because if I let it in, Jordan, it'd destroy me. You'd destroy me." The admission hung, vulnerable as exposed wire. His face crumpled, and then he was on me. Hands fisting my shirt, mouth claiming mine in a kiss that tasted of desperation and desert dust. I resisted for a heartbeat, then surrendered, pulling him closer, the world narrowing to the press of his body, the thunder mirroring the storm in my veins. We tumbled to the bed, clothes shedding like old skins, his freckles mapping constellations across his chest. It was messy, fervent, fingers exploring uncharted territory, Gasps swallowed in the dark. No poetry, just raw need, years of pent-up ache uncoiling in the cramped space. Afterward, we lay spent, limbs entwined, the rain a soft requiem on the roof. "What now?" he whispered, voice small. I traced the line of his jaw, heart full to bursting. "Now we figure it out. Together." But dawn brought clarity's cruel edge. As the storm cleared, revealing a sky bruised purple, Jordan's phone buzzed. A text from his sister back home. "Riley's talking. Whole town's buzzing. You okay?" His face drained of color, and he bolted upright, scrambling for his jeans. "This changes everything, Aus. I can't. I need time." The betrayal stung sharper than the slap of cold air when he stepped out to smoke, leaving me adrift in sheets that smelled of him. We'd crossed the line, all right, but the real crossing was just beginning, the one back to reality, where love like ours didn't come with a roadmap. The drive out of Nevada felt like dragging chains. Jordan hunched over the wheel, jaw set like the granite buttes we'd left behind, while I fiddled with the radio, static hissing between country twang and sports talk. We didn't speak of the night, the kiss, the tangle of bodies that had rewritten our history in sweat and sighs. It loomed between us, a third passenger, heavy as the cooler of melting ice. By midday, we'd hit Reno's outskirts. The city sprawled like a hangover under the Sierra Nevada's shadow. "Let's stop," he said finally, voice gravelly. "Clear our heads." We parked the camper at a kitschy RV park off I-80, the kind with plastic flamingos and a pool that smelled of chlorine and regret. Jordan vanished into the showers, emerging with wet hair slicked back, towel slung low on his hips, and I had to look away, heat crawling up my neck. Lunch was burgers at a diner called Ruby's, Formica counters, pie under glass domes, waitresses calling us Han with coffee refill efficiency. He picked at his fries, eyes on the highway outside. "Last night. It wasn't planned, Aus. But I'm not sorry." My fork paused midair, grease dripping. "Me neither. Scared shitless, but not sorry." A ghost of his smile flickered, and for a moment, the world righted itself. We pushed west that afternoon, the landscape shifting to California's golden foothills, vineyards rolling like green waves under the sun. Jordan cracked jokes to fill the silence, about the ghosts of bad decisions, haunting every mile marker, and I played along, but the undercurrent pulled strong. Texts pinged his phone sporadically. Friends checking in, his mom with passive-aggressive worry about his extended vacation. Then the one that gutted him, a voicemail from Riley, voice syrupy venom. "Heard you're on some bromance road trip, Jordy. Careful or Austin might catch feelings. Wouldn't want that messing up your straight guy cred." He deleted it without a word, knuckles white on the dash. Yosemite hit us like a revelation 2 days later, the valley floor a cathedral of granite and sequoias that dwarfed our petty dramas. We hiked Mist Trail at dawn, water roaring from vernal fall, mist soaking our boots. Half Dome loomed ahead, a sheer face daring climbers to conquer it. "We should do it," Jordan said, eyes alight with that reckless spark I'd always envied. "Summit it like we're summiting this." He gestured vaguely between us, and I laughed, the sound echoing off the cliffs. But doubt gnawed. Could we climb this high, or would we plummet? The ascent was brutal, cables slick with dew, muscles screaming as we hauled ourselves up the subdome. Midway, a slip sent Jordan scrambling, my hand shooting out to yank him back by the collar. We collapsed against the rock, chests heaving, his face inches from mine. "Thanks," he panted, and then he kissed me. Soft this time, exploratory, the world falling away to the rush of waterfall below. It was affirmation, a vow etched in exertion. At the top, wind-whipped and triumphant, we stood arm in arm, the valley a patchwork quilt at our feet. "I love you, Aus," he murmured into the gale, words nearly lost but landing like thunder in my soul. "Always have, I think." Tears pricked my eyes. I pulled him close, whispering it back, the confession freeing his flight. Descending brought the real drop. Back at the camper, buzzed on adrenaline and cheap Merlot, we made love again. Slower, reverent, mapping each scar and freckle like sacred text. His body under mine was home, all lean muscle and yielding warmth, gasps turning to pleas in the lantern's glow. "Don't stop," he breathed, fingers digging into my back. And I didn't, not until we shattered together, spent and sated. Curled against him, I traced the tattoo on his rib, a compass rose, inked after his first heartbreak. "Points true north," he'd said once. Now it pointed to me, but paradise has serpents. The next morning, as we broke camp for the coast, Jordan's phone lit up with a call from his agent, some low-rent literary scout who'd promised a book deal on his small-town queer awakening memoir. "It's gold, Jordy, raw, relatable. But you gotta own it. No more hiding." Excitement lit his face, but it twisted mine with unease. "What about us?" I asked later, as Highway 120 wound toward the Pacific. He shrugged, too casual. "It's our story. It'll put us on the map." Monterey welcomed us with fog-shrouded bays and the salty tang of ocean air. We splurged on a night at a seaside motel, our first off-grid stop, trading the camper's confines for a king bed overlooking Cannery Row. Steinbeck's ghosts wandered the wharf as we strolled hand in hidden hand, stealing kisses behind fishing nets, the world feeling conquerable. Dinner was clam chowder in sourdough bowls, laughter flowing freer than the wine. "To new chapters," he toasted, clinking glasses, and I echoed it, ignoring the shadow in his eyes. Big Sur was the crescendo, cliffs plunging into turquoise waves, the Pacific a symphony of crash and roar. We drove the camper along Highway 1, windows down, Bob Dylan crooning about tangled vines. Pull-offs became altars, picnics on blankets with avocado sandwiches, skinny dipping in hidden coves where the water shocked cold against sun-warmed skin. One evening at Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park, we watched the McWay Falls spill silver into the sea, Jordan's head on my shoulder. "This is what I want forever," he said. "You and me, chasing horizons." I believed him, heart swelling, until his phone betrayed us. It was a group chat ping, his old college crew, ribbing him about the road trip glow-up. Attached, a blurry photo from Yosemite's summit, us locked in that kiss, time-stamped and tagged. "Who's the mystery dude? Spill, haze." Panic flashed across his face as he deleted it, but the damage rippled. "How'd they get that?" I demanded, voice rising over the waves. "I posted a story, didn't think?" He trailed off, guilt etching lines around his mouth. The betrayal wasn't malice, but it cut deep. Our private summit, commodified for likes. We fought that night in the camper, parked on a bluff where the ocean mocked our turmoil. "You promised discretion," I shouted, pacing the narrow aisle. "This isn't just your story, Jordan. It's ours." He fired back, defensive. "I'm trying to build something real here. Ouse. Career, a voice for guys like us. You think I want to hide forever?" Words escalated. Accusations of selfishness, fear of commitment, until he grabbed his keys. "I need air." The door slammed, leaving me with the echo of waves and the sting of tears. He returned at midnight, contrite, bearing wildflowers plucked from the roadside. "I'm an idiot," he said, pulling me into a hug that smelled of salt and sage. We made up fiercely, bodies colliding in apology, but the fracture lingered, a hairline crack in our foundation. As we rolled south toward LA, the glamour of Hollywood loomed, but so did the ghosts. Riley's whispers, the town's prying eyes, the weight of a love too big for secrecy. San Francisco was our pivot, rainbow flags fluttering in the Castro, a city that breathed queer history like oxygen. We wandered Haight-Ashbury, thrift shopping for flannel and vinyl, blending into the tapestry of out and proud lives. At a dive bar off Market Street, we nursed whiskeys and watched drag queens lip-sync Gaga, Jordan's hand finding mine under the table. "This could be us," he said, voice thick with possibility. "No more running." I nodded, hope flickering, but the call came as we left. His agent, deal inked, but with a clause. "Go public, Jordy. Authenticity sells." The pressure built like coastal fog. Back in the camper, parked at Ocean Beach where the surf pounded like accusations. Jordan paced. They want the full story. The ex, the awakening, the best friend who became more. My stomach dropped. And if I say no? He stopped, eyes pleading. It's my shot, Aus. Our shot. Betrayal bloomed cold. He'd pitched me as the catalyst, the line crossed in a camper without asking. You wrote about us? Without telling me. He deflated. It's fictionized. But yeah, it's us. The fight erupted. Raw and ragged, me feeling exposed. Him cornered by ambition. I love you, he yelled. But I can't bury this anymore. I stormed out into the dusk, sand gritty underfoot. The Golden Gate a distant silhouette. Hours later, he found me at a bonfire on the beach, strangers' faces glowing. Don't make me choose, he begged. But the choice was made. Dawn broke with him driving south alone in spirit, the miles between us widening like the Pacific. Los Angeles swallowed us whole, a glittering beast of palm trees and promise that chewed up dreams and spat out bones. We arrived under a smog-choked sun, the camper wheezing into Echo Park like an intruder at a party. Jordan's agent had hooked us up with a sublet in Silver Lake, a airy bungalow with lemon trees in the yard and views of the Hollywood sign mocking from the hills. Crash pad till the dust settles, she'd said on speaker, her voice all East Coast hustle. I nodded along, but inside, the wound from San Francisco festered. We'd patched it with tentative touches on the drive down. His hand on my thigh at stoplights, my head on his shoulder during podcasts about UFOs. But trust was a fragile thing, cracked like the freeways after quake season. The city pulsed with reinvention. Mornings we'd hike Runyon Canyon, dodging influencers and their ring lights, sweat mixing with the eucalyptus air. Jordan thrived here, networking at coffee shops in Los Feliz, scribbling edits to his manuscript on a battered MacBook. This is it, AUS, the launch pad, he'd say, eyes bright as he read aloud passages that twisted our road trip into metaphor. The camper as a confessional, Highway 50 as the vein of America's hidden heart. I'd smile, but each line about the boy who saw me first landed like a barb, our intimacy distilled into sellable prose. Nights were ours at first. We'd prowl Venice Boardwalk, street performers juggling fire to mariachi beats, stealing cotton candy kisses amid the salt breeze. One evening, at a pop-up queer poetry slam in West Hollywood, he took the mic, unscripted, voice steady as he poured out fragments of us. In the thunder's roar, we found our storm, two boys breaking free in a tin can tabernacle. The crowd hooped, but I sat frozen, applause thundering while exposure clawed my throat. Later, in bed with the ceiling fan whirring lazy circles, I confronted him. It's beautiful, Jord, but it's me up there, naked. He traced my collarbone, apologetic. I know, I'm changing names, blurring edges. For us, work pulled me under. A freelance gig drafting sustainable housing for a nonprofit in Skid Row, blueprints sprawling across our kitchen table like escape plans. Jordan tagged along to the site one day, hard hat perched jauntily, charming the crew with stories of Midwestern grit. You two are cute, one architect teased, winking. LA's gonna eat that up. We laughed, but it planted seeds. Visibility as currency, love as leverage. His book tour loomed, readings in San Diego, then back east, and with it, the specter of going public. What if we did? He mused over tacos at a food truck in Boyle Heights, neon signs buzzing like fireflies. Hand in hand, the whole deal. Fuck the haters. I wanted to believe in that boldness, in the fairy tale of two guys from nowhere claiming the spotlight. But roots run deep. Indiana's conservative chill clung like frost. My mom called sporadically, her voice thin over the line. When you comin' home, honey? Town's a skin after you. Subtext heavy. The whispers about Jordan's phase. The church lady's side eyes. And Riley, God, Riley. She'd escalated, demanding Jordan with screenshots from mutuals, twisting his coming out into betrayal. You used me as your experiment, then ditched for trailer trash Austin? Classy. He blocked her, but the poison seeped. The fracture widened mid-August, heat wave turning the city into a skillet. We'd planned a weekend escape to Joshua Tree, cacti spires, and starlit domes to reclaim our wildness. But en route, his phone exploded. The agent, leak alert, advanced copy snippets hit the trades. Buzz is huge, but questions about your muse. Prep for the interview circuit. Panic set in. He pulled over at a gas station in Yucca Valley, palms slamming the dash. They know it's real. About you. I stared at the pump's digital tick. And, he turned, eyes wild. I have to address it, or it looks like I'm ashamed. The park was a bomb and ablaze. We hiked Hidden Valley at sunset, boulders warm under our hands, the desert blooming improbable wildflowers. At Keys View, overlooking the Coachella Valley sprawl, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but plea. Marry this life with me, Aus. The book, the noise, all of it. Laughter bubbled through tears as I pulled him up, kissing him fierce against the wind. That night, in the camper under a Milky Way blaze, we loved like prophets. Slow, sacred. His whispers of forever etching into my skin. But betrayal waits in the shadows. Back in LA, jet-lagged from a red-eye to New York for a pitch meeting, him solo, me buried in deadlines. He returned changed. Manic with momentum, portfolio stuffed with offers. Podcast tomorrow, he announced over breakfast burritos. NPR affiliate. They'll ask about inspirations. Dread coiled. Tell them what? He hesitated. Then, the truth, lightly. Us as the spark. I bolted upright. You promised edits. Names changed. His face hardened. It's anonymized, Aus. But hiding? That's the real betrayal. The argument spilled into the street. Neighbors' succulents wilting in the crossfire. You're selling our soul for a byline, I accused. And you're scared of your own shadow, he shot back. He stormed to a friend's couch in Venice. I drowned in work, sketching elevations that blurred through unshed tears. Days stretched, texts terse. Miss you. Need space. Then the gut punch, a link from a gossip rag. Rising queer-lit star Jordan Hayes. Road trip romance or ruse? Sources say Muse is real and reluctant. It was Riley, of course, vindictive as kudzu, feeding the beast with half-truths and that Yosemite snap. The article painted me as the hesitant Heartland holdout, Jordan as the bold bard. Humiliation burned. I packed a bag, fleeing to a buddy's in Koreatown. The city lights a mocking constellation. He called at 2 a.m., voice wrecked. It wasn't me, I swear. Come home. I did, dawn breaking as we collided in the doorway. Forgiveness in frantic hands. Make-up sex a battlefield of bites and begs. No more secrets, we vowed. But the press had teeth. September brought the tour's kickoff. San Diego's Lit Fest, a sun-drenched harbor town where sailboats bobbed like buoys of hope. We drove down together, camper reclaimed as sanctuary, stopping at La Jolla Coves where seals barked approval. The reading was electric. Crowd rapped as he wove our odyssey into verse, voice cracking on lines about the camper's confessional, where lines blurred to lifelines. Q&A turned tide. Is the muse real? Anyone we know? He glanced my way, hand brushing mine off stage. Very real, and worth every mile. Elation carried us north, but conflict brewed. Back in LA, offers piled. Film rights whispers, magazine profiles. His ego swelled. Mine shrank under the glare. You're fading into the background. A friend warned over beers at father's office. He's the star now, you're the footnote. Paranoia festered. One night, scrolling his emails, a breach I regretted instantly. I found drafts. Chapters delving deeper. My flaws fictionalized. The cautious engineer afraid of heights. Of us. Betrayal anew, sharper for the intimacy. We confronted at Griffith Observatory. Stars indifferent above the sprawl. You made me the villain in our story, I said, voice echoing in the planetarium's dome. He recoiled. It's art, AUS, exaggerated, not indictment. Tears fell as we argued orbits. His need to orbit fame, mine for grounded gravity. I love you, he pleaded. But this is bigger. I walked away, The city a labyrinth below, heart fracturing like fault lines. Weeks blurred in limbo. Him jetting to readings in Portland and Seattle. Me fortifying walls with overtime and gym sessions that left bruises blooming. Calls grew sparse, laced with static. Crowd loved the Indiana bits. Miss your laugh. Then the hammer. A New York Times blurb, lauding his candid portrait of repressed desire. Quoting lines unmistakably mine. Public now, irrevocably. Rage boiled. I texted, "You sold us out." His reply, "For us. Call me." I didn't. Instead, I drove the camper east alone, the ribbon of I-10 unspooling like severed ties. Nevada's loneliness echoed our start, thunderheads gathering as if summoned. Pulled over near Barstow, rain sheeting the windshield. I broke, sobs racking as memories replayed. His freckles in firelight, whispers in Yosemite's mist. Betrayal wasn't just the words. It was the erasure, me reduced to muse while he soared. He found me there, tires crunching gravel at midnight, face gaunt from flights and fear. "I fucked up," he said, sliding in beside me, rain dripping from his hair. The books paused. Agents pissed, but screw it. You're not a chapter, you're the whole damn book. We clung through the storm, kisses salt with grief, bodies seeking solace in familiarity. Dawn brought fragile peace. "Rewrite together," I murmured. He nodded, hand in mine. But scars run deep. Trust, once cracked, whispers doubts in quiet hours. Autumn crept into California like a hesitant lover, leaves turning amber in the canyons, while LA's relentless sun mocked the season's sigh. We'd hunkered down in Silver Lake, the bungalow a fragile fortress against the world's prying eyes. Jordan shelved the tour remnants. Canceled dates in Austin and Chicago. His agent's emails a barrage of, "What the hell, Hayes?" And we turned inward, co-authoring a new narrative. Not his solo spotlight, but ours. Mornings dissolved into collaborative chaos. Laptops syncing on the kitchen island amid oat milk lattes and playlists of Bon Iver ballads. Chapter 1's too angsty, I'd say, red penning a line about my small-town shackles. He'd laugh, conceding with a kiss that tasted of forgiveness and fresh starts. The city softened around us, its edges blurring in the haze of healing. We volunteered at a queer youth center in Hollywood, facilitating workshops on storytelling your truth. Ironic, given our own tangled tale. Watching Jordan with the kids, his easy empathy drawing out shy confessions, chipped away at my resentment. One teen, a wiry kid named Theo with braces and a buzz cut, cornered me after, "You guys real? Like, for real?" I glanced at Jordan across the room, mid-story about a camper confessional. Real as it gets, kid. Messy, but real. It grounded me, this humanism amid the glamour. Love not as conquest, but quiet revolution. Yet conflict simmered, fed by external winds. Riley resurfaced, not vengeful, but broken, emailing Jordan an apology laced with regret. "I was hurt," lashed out. "Seeing your words. It hurts, but I get it now." He shared it with me over Thai takeout on the patio, lanterns swaying in the breeze. Should I respond? My gut twisted, jealousy, yes, but also pity for the woman we'd both wounded. Tell her you're happy. Closure's a gift. He did, and peace settled, but it stirred my own ghosts. A voicemail from Mom, voice quavering. "Austin, honey, the paper had an article about Jordan's book and, you folks are talking. Come home. Talk it out." Indiana called like a siren's dirge. We planned the trip for Thanksgiving, neutral ground, turkey and truths with my fractured family. But en route, east on I-40 through Arizona's red rock veins, the camper's engine coughed its last in Albuquerque. Stranded at a truck stop amid semis and sodium lights, we waited for parts, tension coiling like dust devils. "This is a sign," Jordan joked, but his eyes held fear. Of what? More delays. I snapped, exhaustion fraying nerves. The mechanic, a grizzled vet with tattoos of eagles and anchors, eyed our intertwined hands. "You boys hitched? Looks like you." Pride swelled. We nodded. and he comped the toe, muttering, "World needs more like you." Repaired and rolling, we detoured north to Santa Fe. Adobe charm and chili-scented air a palate cleanser. Galleries glowed with native art, and we wandered Canyon Road, hands brushing in crowded doorways. At a tiny taqueria, candlelit and cumin-rich, Jordan proposed. Not ring, but resolve. After Indiana, let's make it official. Vows, Vegas style or quiet in the desert. Your call. My heart stuttered. The romance of it, laced with American wanderlust, tempted. Desert, I said. Stars as witnesses. He grinned, sealing it with a kiss that drew whistles from a table of locals. But betrayal's shadow lengthened. Back on the road, Jordan's phone lit with a forwarded email from his agent, who'd shopped the paused manuscript to a rival publisher behind his back. Advance doubled. They want the full dirt. Your muse's reluctance. The ex's revenge. Scandal sells. Horror dawned. Excerpts attached, rawer than before. My hesitations painted as homophobia's holdout. She stole it, he whispered, face ashen. From my cloud backups. Fury ignited not just violation but the commodification of our pain. I grabbed the wheel at the next rest area. Veering south to confront her in L.A., Jordan silent beside me, betrayal etching hollows under his eyes. The agent's office in Century City was glass and chrome, a sterile hive buzzing with ambition. She met us in the lobby, Botox smooth and unrepentant. It's business, boys. Jordan's voice, your story, it's lightning. Don't fight the storm. He fired her on the spot, voice steel. That's not our narrative anymore. Walking out into the plaza's fountain spray. He turned to me, tears mingling with mist. I almost lost you to my own greed. I cupped his face. We're rewriting. Together. Thanksgiving dawned crisp in Indiana. The trailer park dusted with frost like powdered sugar on regret. Mom greeted us at the door, apron dusted with flour, eyes wary but warm. Brought the troublemaker, I see. Jordan charmed with pie contributions and tales of L.A. oddities, but dinner crackled with undercurrents. Uncle Ray's grumbled grace over these modern times. Aunt Linda's sidelong glances at our linked pinkies under the table. After, in the backyard under bare oaks, Mom pulled me aside. He makes you shine, Austin. Don't let fear dim that. Her words, hard-won from her own lonely years, cracked my defenses. We left with hugs and leftovers, the heartland's chill thawing in the rear view. Christmas loomed as catalyst. Jordan's family, scattered but supportive, a brother in Denver and parents who'd warmed to his truths, invited us for a ski chalet in Aspen. The Rockies welcomed with powder snow and roaring fires, but altitude amplified anxieties. On a chairlift to the slopes, gloved hands clasped, he confessed, Riley's suing. Defamation. Says the book twists her. My blood iced. From the leak. He nodded. It's bullshit, but it'll drag us through mud. Conflict crested that night in the hot tub, steam rising like unspoken fears. Fight it, I urged, or settle and silence. He chose fight, but doubt lingered, betrayal's echo in legal briefs. New Year ticked in Tahoe, a cabin rented on impulse, lake frozen under moonlight. Fireworks burst over the Sierra as we made resolutions on bearskin rugs. Vulnerability as vow, fame as footnote. Lovemaking was tender, exploratory. His body a landscape I'd mapped 1,000 times, yet discovered anew in candle flicker. You're my horizon, he murmured, and I believed. The year's end a portal to possibility. Spring bloomed, betrayal's bloom. Jordan's book, Reclaimed, revised with my byline as co-author, hit shelves in April, a quiet release through an indie press in Portland. Reviews trickled. A humanistic hymn to queer becoming. One gushed, too earnest, lacks bite, sniped another. But success whispered. Readings booked, a podcast invite from This American Life. Elated, we celebrated at a WeHo bar, toasts with Manhattans amid glitter and grind. There, a fan approached, tall, tattooed, eyes hungry. Your words saved me, man. That camper scene? Gold. Jordan basked. I retreated to the shadows, unease stirring. The call came post-reading in San Francisco. His brother, voice grave. Dad's sick pancreatic. Come home. Denver blurred in grief's grip. Hospital fluorescence harsh as truths. Jordan wilted, the golden boy frayed at edges, while I held vigil, fetching coffees and fielding calls. You don't have to, he started. But I silenced him with a kiss. We're in this. Yet in quiet moments, watching him shatter privately, I glimpsed the boy from the trailer park. Vulnerable, needing anchor. Humanism shone. Love as load-bearing wall, not spotlight. Summer sweltered back in L.A. The bungalow a greenhouse of grief and growth. Jordan's dad stabilized, but the scare reframed. Priorities shifting from pages to presence. We road-tripped north again, Oregon coast, camper upgraded with solar panels, reclaiming the ritual. At Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock's sentinel in the tide, he scattered doubts like seashells. No more leaks. No more leaks in us. I nodded, but the undercurrent pulled. A letter from Riley, settlement reached, words olive branch. Peace, you're brave. Climax brewed in August, heat wave redux. Jordan's big break, a TEDx talk on queer narratives in the heartland. Landed in Chicago, my old stomping ground. We arrived electric, the city a prodigal son's embrace. Deep dish at Pequod's, walks along the bean reflecting our distorted joys. Backstage at the theater, nerves jangled. He paced, script clutched. What if they see through me? I steadied him. They'll see truth. The talk soared, voice resonant. Slides of blurred camper shots evoking our odyssey. We crossed lines not to escape, but to arrive, he said, eyes finding mine in the crowd. Applause thundered. Afterward, in a green room hug, he whispered, couldn't without you, but euphoria cracked. A reporter cornered us at the after-party. Mike thrust. The muse. Is he here? Spill the romance. Jordan froze. I stepped forward, heart pounding. He's more than muse. He's mine. Flashbulbs popped. The line crossed public. Irreversible. Betrayal followed swift. A tabloid twist. Hayes heartthrob. From bestie to boyfriend. But is it PR stunt? Sourced to an anonymous inner circle. Dredging Riley's old venom. Paranoia peaked. Jordan accused my work friend of loose lips. I his lit crowd. The fight in our hotel suite was cataclysmic. Furniture toppled, voices raw. Everyone wants a piece, he roared. And you're giving it away, I countered. He grabbed his coat. Maybe I need to go alone. He didn't. Dawn found him returned, curled on the carpet, sobs muffled in pillows. I'm terrified of losing you to this circus. We rebuilt in ruins, therapy sessions via Zoom with a queer counselor in the Castro, unpacking betrayals like luggage. Trust is rebuilt brick by brick, she said. We did. Dates in dive bars, vowing humanism over hype. Fall circled back, leaves carpeting silver lake paths. The book climbed charts modestly, but we sidestepped spotlights for substance. A podcast of our own, Camper Confessions, raw talks on love's long haul. One episode, on betrayal, Jordan teared up. I heard him chasing ghosts, but he stayed. That's grace. Winter wrapped L.A. in uncharacteristic chill. Santa Annis whispering secrets through the canyons, as if the city itself conspired for closure. The bungalow glowed with string lights and the scent of Jordan's experimental chili, spiced with ghost peppers, a nod to our fiery start. We'd settled into a rhythm. Him adjunct teaching creative writing at UCLA. Me leading a team on eco-housing for unhoused vets. Our lives intersecting in evenings of shared syllabi and sight sketches. The podcast hummed along, episodes dropping like breadcrumbs. Road rage to romance. Betrayal's backseat. Drawing listeners who emailed stories mirroring ours. Best friends turned lovers. Lines crossed in crises. But peace is prelude to storm. January brought the lawsuit's shadow lifting. Riley's settlement sealed with an NDA, her silence bought but bitterness unpaid. She surfaced at a book club event in Pasadena, uninvited, face gaunt under the indie bookstore's warm lamps. Jordan, she said, voice steady, extending a worn copy of our book. Signed. He hesitated, then did, me hovering like a sentinel. No hard feelings? She asked, eyes flicking to me. Just healing, he replied. She nodded, vanishing into the night. But the encounter lingered, a reminder of fractures mended unevenly. February's Valentine's was deliberate whimsy. A recreated road trip snippet, camper parked at Zuma Beach, bonfire crackling with s'mores and secrets. Jordan blindfolded me for a surprise, leading to a tide pool teeming with starfish, their arms a metaphor for regeneration. We're like these, he said, removing the cloth. Broken, but beautiful. We made love on a blanket under Orion's belt. Ocean lullaby soft, bodies sinking like waves to shore. Marry me, he murmured post-climax. Ring box materializing from his jacket. Simple tungsten, etched with a compass rose. Tears blurred the stars. Yes, I breathed, the word a vow heavier than gold. Wedding whispers wove through spring, small, humanistic, a desert affair echoing our Joshua Tree dream. Invites went to the essentials. My mom, his family, Theo from the youth center as ring-bearer. But conflict crested in April. Agent's Ghost revived via a producer's call, screenplay option, HBO series. Your lives, dramatized. Temptation tugged. Jordan's eyes lit. Think us but epic. Awareness on steroids. I balked. Memories of leaks flashing. Or Exploitation 2.0? Debate raged over rooftop tacos in Echo Park. City sprawl a cautionary canvas. We control it, he argued. Our story, our terms. Doubt nod. But love leaned yes, cautious, collaborative. May's heat wave-tested resolve. While scouting venues in Palm Springs, mid-century moderns with pools like Azure Eyes. A call from Indiana shattered. Mom's diagnosis? Breast cancer stage 3. Stubborn as ever, she joked over FaceTime. But fear laced her laugh. We flew east immediately, camper mothballed, hearts heavy. The trailer park felt smaller, time's erosion etched in peeling paint. Jordan stepped up, cooking meals, driving to chemo. His gentleness a balm to her bluster. You're good for him, she confided one night, porch swing creaking. Don't let go. In hospital vigils, holding her frail hand, I glimpsed mortality's mirror. Love's fragility, life's insistence on depth over dazzle. Summer solstice marked pivot. Mom stabilized, remissions whisper, and we returned west renewed, priorities etched. The HBO deal? Shelved for a docuseries pitch, authentic over actor gloss. Wedding plans accelerated. June 21st, summer's peak, at a Joshua Tree preserve. Vows crafted jointly. In thunder and calm, we choose you. Exchanged under a Joshua's gnarled arms. Theo beaming, families tear-streaked. Rings slid on, simple bands catching sun like promises. The reception. Potluck under stars, stories swapped around a fire pit. Humanism in every hug. But climax loomed unbidden. Post-honeymoon. A quiet Big Sur loop, camper christened with marital bliss. A package arrived. Riley's final missive, a journal excerpt from her own awakening. Parallels to our Stark. Not revenge, her note read. Solidarity. It humanized her, betrayer to bridge, and we invited her to contribute anonymously to the podcast. Episode Echoes of Exes, a catharsis for all. Fall's harvest brought bounty. Mom's clean scans, the docuseries greenlit with us as exec producers, podcast hitting viral with a camper comeback live from the original Nevada pull-off. There, under Recreating Thunder, Jordan and I revisited the hook, the kiss that started it all. Cameras rolled, but it was for us. Lips meeting soft, years distilled to this enduring spark. Yet true drama unfolded off-script. In November, as leaves turned in the canyons, Jordan collapsed mid-run. Panic attack, Doc said, stress's silent thief. Our lights harsh, monitors beeping. I held him through tremors. Thought I lost you, he gasped. Never, I vowed, echoing our first storm. Therapy deepened, couple sessions unpacking ambition's allure. Betrayal's bite. yielding growth. Him tabling fame for family, a nephew on the way, me embracing visibility as voice for heartland queers. Winter solstice circled complete. Back at Zuma, 1 year post-proposal, we renewed under the same tide pools, rings glinting. The American dream we chased. Not billboards, but this. 2 men from Dust Bowl roots, lines crossed into lifelines. Love a road ever unfolding. Mom visited, chemo scars fading, toasting with eggnog, to speechless wonders. Jordan pulled me close, freckles star-mapped in firelight. What happened left us both whole. In the camper's sway, parked facing the infinite Pacific, we drove into night, thunder distant, hearts aligned. No more speechless. Only stories, shared and sacred, in the grand, gritty tapestry of us. Epilogue whispers. Years on, the book endures, a quiet classic in queer-lit circles. Docuseries Emmy-nodded, podcast a lifeline for wanderers. We built a home in Topanga, solar-powered and story-filled, adopting a rescue mutt named Highway. Mom moved west, chemo conquered, trading diner shifts for doting grandma to our someday kids. Betrayals? Scars, not shackles, reminders of resilience. Jordan writes still, me illustrates. Our collaborations canvas the walls. And in quiet camper getaways, recreating that Nevada roar, we cross lines anew. Not in desperation, but devotion. Speechless? Never again. Only grateful, entwined in the American wild.